Hey everyone, Dr. Foster here. Welcome to the next element in developing your business. Today I want to talk to you about developing your problem statement. And probably the best place to begin is to look at something that Albert Einstein has been once credited with saying. And he basically said, if I were given 1 hour to save the planet, I'd spend 59 minutes defining the problem and 1 minute solving it. So I guess the whole argument here in developing your problem statement is that you should be spending more time figuring out what the problem is, maybe 99% of your time figuring out what the problem is, and then the remainder of that time, 1%, figuring out how you're going to resolve the problem. So I want to walk you through some pieces and elements of developing a good problem-solving statement. Now, if you're a business startup, or you're even a business that is already well established, you really should develop your problem statement. If you're a current business, in other words, you're an established business and you've never developed a problem statement and you're looking around, you're saying, I'm really struggling in the market right now, then now's the time for you to stop and spend a good portion of your time, maybe today, maybe in the next week, certainly, looking at this particular process, because it's really important that you define what the problem is. You need to know what the problem is, why it's important, and develop a method for solving it. Remember, Einstein said 59 minutes developing what the problem is, and then 1 minute solving the problem. So we're going to look at the problem, why it's important, and then we're going to develop a method for solving that problem. So here's where we start with this. We look at the root cause of the problem. What is it that's deep down? You know, you look at a beautiful tree or a flower, and especially a tree. You got this huge tree, but what's going on down underneath the earth? There are roots that are spreading out, and they're holding the tree in place. And if they're in proximity to other trees, those roots start to intertwine and mingle, and they hold each other together. You also want to look at what the impact is going to be on any stakeholders in the organization. So that could be the board members, that could be leadership, that could be the employees, that could be the vendors, or it could be the product or service user, in other words, your customer, who is going to be impacted by the problem most. And then what issues are being impacted by that too, so those go together. And then you want to look at the effects that a successful solution must include. In other words, if you're going to have a successful solution, what's the effect on the problem? How is it going to affect the problem? And what is the effects of a successful solution thereof? You need to be as specific as possible in this process. You have to really dig down. And one of the key attributes that we're going to talk about here is the 5 whys method, where you ask a question. What's the problem? You say, well, the problem is that I woke up late. Why? My alarm didn't go off. Why? Last night I didn't set the alarm. Why? Last night I got home late and was really tired and I forgot to set the alarm. Why? Well, I went to a wedding. Okay, so you get the gist. You go why until you get to the root of the problem. And we will talk about the 5 whys again here in a little bit. So let's talk about with how we develop a problem statement. We start with the problem. We have to establish what the problem is and then come up with a statement of the problem. You have to understand your target audience when you're developing the approach to this. So if you don't know who your target audience is as of yet, then I would suggest that you stop what you're doing and go back and review the segment on developing your target customer avatar. I want you to go back into the curriculum that I've developed and look at that avatar and see how I've developed it, because I think it's really critical that you understand completely who your target customer is, who your target audience is, who your target market is. Because without that, it's hard to establish what a problem is for them. So an example would be what is the goal or the need of the audience What is the root cause? We've already talked about the why, the 5 whys. You could do 20 whys if you need to. What is the root cause of the problem for your target audience? And what is your target audience trying to solve? What are the stakeholders struggling with? What concerns do they have? So when you're sitting here trying to figure out what a problem statement should be, I want you to really look at your customer. Now, you might have a service already developed or a product already developed. The question is, how does that product or service, these are earbuds, Raycon earbuds. I love these things. They're not without flaw. There's a couple of things about them I don't like. But my point is this: they solve a problem for me. I hate earbuds, and I do have a pair. Okay, I keep them nearby. What problem does this solve? Okay, first of all, they're wireless. So that means they solves one of my problems, wires. I hate wires. So anyhow, my point is this: what problem does your product serve? So you have a product, you just created this product, maybe you have this product, you just created this product. Does it solve a problem? You have to establish that. What is the goal that you're trying to achieve with this product? What is the need of the audience? Well, I need to be able to write something. That's a need. I need a reliable pen. This is a gel pen, so maybe the ink flows more a lot better or whatever. But my point is this: you have to be able to establish that problem and then articulate what that problem is. So the problem is, and then you state it. The problem of the target audience is blank. Now, the next step, number 2, the effects of the problem. This is usually the effects that are on the user or stakeholder. Who is specifically impacted by this problem, directly or even indirectly? So if it's a problem that you're trying to solve for another business, it might impact the employees, it might impact their customers, it may impact their vendors. You see where I'm going with it. Their stakeholders, in other words, their investors. Who does this affect? So the problem is blank, and it affects blank. Who specifically is impacted by that problem? Then the impact of the issues, costs or other impacts. So if you're lacking a solution, all right, preferably it's your product that's going to be that solution. If the investor, if the customer is lacking a solution to their problem, what are the impacts and outcomes suffered as a result of their problem? So the impact of their problem is that they have cost overruns, that they're running out of time. What is their specific impact that happens when they don't have a solution to that problem? In other words, what are the drivers? What are the business drivers or emotional or physical drivers? Why may the company or client be compelled to solve that problem? Why would they be compelled to buy your product? So a successful solution would be to blank. It'd be to provide a specific benefit that would successfully solve that problem. So the fourth item is the successful solution would. So let's go ahead and review these. The problem of blank affects blank, the impact of which is blank. A successful solution would be to blank. So those are the 4 areas. Now, a solution providing benefits or capabilities would be just what the user needs. So you want to be able to express that. You need to be able to offer a post solution. So let me go ahead and just talk about some quick steps here. First of all, you need to pitch the problem. What is their biggest problem? What is the biggest problem you solve? Don't start with low-hanging fruit and something easy. Pick the biggest problem that the consumer, the customer has. And then step two, you need to pump up the pain. Now, I'm not meaning to lie or over exaggerate, but the value of a problem is proportional to how painful the problem is. In other words, the pain, the more painful, more powerful the solution. The more painful the problem, the more powerful the solution. So you need to state in descriptive ways what the problem is in the form of pain. So you need to pitch the problem, the biggest problem, and then pump up the pain. And number three, you need to be able to tell a story. You need to be able to tell a story that's relatable. So if I tell you a story and I say, this is the biggest problem, and the pain was excruciating, but I'm telling a story that has no relation to what you've experienced, understand, or even know to be a reality, then you're not going to relate to the story. The better they relate to the story, the better they understand the problem and the pain, and the more they want to correct that problem. You got it? So there's 3 steps there. Pitch the biggest problem, pump up the pain, and make your strategy or story relatable. Now, so you want to construct the problem, pump up the pain, tell your story, and then step number 4, solution. How does your solution fix the problem? So let me just give you an example by just explaining to you what I do. I have been in the business world over 25 years. I'm now, at the recording of this video, I'm 50 years old. And I've been in the business world half my life, 25 years more. Okay, by the time you watch this, and maybe a year later, I'm still over 25 years in the business world. In the year 2000, I started a business. Partly because I was tired of working for other people. The other part is I discovered, recently that I have ADHD, so I really struggle with working in business environments and I get bored. And so this idea of working for myself was really powerful and just really helped me to be excited about things. So in the year 2000, I started a business. And the problem is, the biggest problem I ran into is I didn't know what I was doing. Now here's what's fascinating. I have a business degree. I have an undergraduate degree in business management and administration with a focus on HR. I, at the time, had been in the business world 10 years. I had been out in the business world 10 years. And so the issue was I didn't know what I was doing. Why? Because I had never started a business before, and I had never run a business of my own before. Up to that point, I had always run businesses for other people. Now, when you run a business for other people, you get great experience on how to do administrative tasks and certain elements of how a business is run. So I don't want you to have this misunderstanding that I had no knowledge at all of what I was doing. My point is that when you go into business, there's so many elements and pieces to starting a business that it's like going and buying a puzzle that has 10,000 pieces. And oh, by the way, it's not only 10,000 pieces, it's 3-dimensional. You get the picture? So now you're building this. Another way of talking about, the idea of entrepreneurship is you jump out off of a building and you build an airplane on the way down. That's the way it is. You jump into the deep water and then you build a boat, right? It's like you put the cart before the horse. And so one of the problems that I ran into, the biggest problem that I've run into, is there are literally thousands upon thousands of people just like you that are trying to start a business. And they don't know what they're doing. They don't know where to start. They don't know pieces and elements. I'm going to tell you right now, because I describe business as the longest running experiment in the history of mankind. You're never going to have it just exactly right because you're constantly adjusting, figuring out what works, what doesn't work, and evolving the idea, the concept. And this is why so many businesses fail. It's not because it's not a great idea. It's because you didn't have really good planning in the beginning, and you didn't know how to keep up with the eventuality of things that are to come. And then there's the issue of, how do I sell? How do I market? How do I have enough money to pay myself and my employees and, pay raw material? All of that is important. And so the biggest problem I run into is that business owners do not know, or entrepreneurs that want to start businesses do not know what needs to be done. Now, I don't need to pump up the pain here, but I'm going to tell you that I made so many mistakes, and you will too. You probably are already experiencing mistakes. And some of these mistakes can set you back years. And so you have to figure out how to deal with the problem. And excuse me on that. So here is how I try to relate the story to you. I know what you're going through. I know the struggles that you're at. You're figuring out how to make decisions. You're figuring out how to structure your business. You're figuring out how to sell. You're figuring out how to market, which are two different things, by the way. And so what is fascinating to me is there's so many people out there, and you may be one of them. You go it alone every day. And I went it alone every day. And it almost cost me, relationships. It almost cost me a lot of money. It was a struggle. You don't have to struggle alone. So the solution to the problem, what is it that I offer? I work with business owners, and I have it right here. I wrote it down. My vision, my passion, my purpose, how I solve problems. My vision is to provide coaching, mentoring, consulting, and learning solutions that provide solutions to real problems that business owners are experiencing, to help them build and grow a profitable, sustainable business. So again, my vision is to provide a real coaching and training solution for business owners at every step of the way to help them build and grow profitable, sustainable businesses. So again, as you're trying to develop develop your problem statement, so you know how to take your product or service to market, use the 5 whys. Figure out what the problem is and what the effects are and what the impact is going to be and what the solution is going to be. Pitch the biggest problem. Pump up the pain. Make your story relatable and provide a solution, because in the end, it's the solution to the painful problem that will create cash flow. I'm Dr. Foster. Thank you for attending this segment of the course. Have a good day.